So we are here at NCORE in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, and the U of M Flint squad is about to actually present their research, More Than a Box, an innovative discussion on demographic data and stats and about the U.S. Census, how it can be problematic, the pros and the cons. Stay tuned. How are you feeling?
Great. That's how I feel.
How do you feel?
I feel hydrated and excited.
Yes. Okay, yes.
If you see any categories missing, whether it's for you or for other people. So you can just think about this or get in some small groups and discuss with your neighbors and make some friends. All right.
Guide on this brief journey. So can I just have a quick show of hands? How many people know something about the census? Okay. So we all know at least a little bit, right? So the name of our presentation is More Than a Box. And basically our goal here is to lead an innovative discussion on demographic reporting. So firstly, what is the census? Why does it exist and who contributes to it? So the census is constitutionally mandated, okay? So since 1790, it's been, every 10 years, a census has been done for the purpose of conversion or apportionment. So that's basically population changes, people move. It's social definition that we collectively as a country have established. So it's more about sort of the American ideas of what people look like and what race actually is in this country. So keep that in mind that this is not something that is based in scientific definitions or anything like that. You're either white, everybody else, or you're a slave, okay? I mean, technically, it's true, right? Like, those are the types of people that exist. But that's not the America that we know and love, right? And then I want you to jump down to 1850. There's this category called mulatto. Right? So that's a measurement of people who have an amount of blackness in them, right? They're not what we would consider fully black, but they have some measuring the percentage of black that you are, okay? So in 1960, as I mentioned earlier, the census, that's when they started conducting it via mail. So up until 1960, you could not pick your own race. Your race was picked for you. Okay, so someone would knock on your door, they'd be like, hey, we're going to get some information from you. And basically, out of these categories that existed, they would assign them for you. They would put you into a place, so to speak. So 1960 is also when you see more population start to be counted. So there's a separate question called the Hispanic origin question. Okay, so on the census, you cannot be of Hispanic or Latino descent and have that be considered your race. That is your ethnicity. So you have to say whether you're Hispanic or not, and then choose from one of these races what you are based on that. So keep in mind that Hispanic, Latino, as a race, it does not exist.
Basically ask, are you of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin? So like David said, each person has these two attributes, whether or not they have Latinx origin and their race. And there's no option under the race category for Latinx. So this question has its roots in the 1930 census when Mexican was added under the race category. And this was during the Great Depression. The US government was trying to round people up, deport them so that there was more work for Americans. And different Latino groups and the Mexican government protested this category because the best way to stay in the US and work was to claim whiteness. So after the 1930 census, there was never another Latinx origin option under the race categories. And it wasn't until 1970 when the Hispanic origin question was introduced to the long-form census, which goes to 1/6 of households.
And I want you to look at what's highlighted here. So if you're black, you can identify as black, African American for first time 2000, or you can identify as Negro, okay? And look at 2010, Negro is still an option. So the justification for that by the Census Bureau is that a lot of the older populations still identify with that term, which is very interesting, right? Because I don't know, I've never encountered anybody who's called themselves Negro or identified with that term. Okay. So, but as you can see, America is a little bit more diverse at this point, right? They're trying in some capacity, but still, I don't know if you feel like this is all that exists in America. If you feel like this represents the full depth and diversity of what America is. If your grandparents immigrated from Jamaica or Germany or something, that's an identity that you might have and something that you might call yourself, right? Some were developed in the U.S., so like Cajun, Pennsylvania Dutch, those are sort of unique, and that's sort of that melting pot of American ideas that we associate with American values and what we are. You can pick two ancestries, and that's what counts towards. So you say that, you know, I'm German and Irish, that's what's included. After 2000, that information is all in the ACS. So that short form census, it doesn't count. So the most general database that people access, that doesn't go there. It goes only on a smaller survey, right? That doesn't count the entire population. The ancestry category is pretty robust.
Experiences, and they are perceived differently depending on how they are viewed, from their skin complexion, their skin tone, their eye color, their texture of their hair, and also it matters in how an individual perceives themselves based off of the social construction of race. Becoming American. So let's discuss a little bit about being black in America. When we look at our troubling past, our troubling history, due to slavery, there were black people who were pretty much stolen from the continent of Africa, enslaved in the United States and around other countries, citizenship in the new country, the new land. However, if you're not white, you have a problem. So when we look back at blacks in America and looking through that history, blacks were enslaved in this country. Therefore, they were considered property of their masters or owners. So the 13th Amendment comes into place. If you all remember, Honest Abe, President Abraham Lincoln, he had the 13th Amendment that abolished slavery in the U.S. Now, that was due to various reasons, trying to, one, save the Union, and then two, they needed more free bodies to be a part of the Union Army. So as
identity in America. So I first want to introduce you to my parents. This is Shaukat and that's Nassim. They both came from the country Jordan, which is in the Middle East, and they moved to America. Well, my dad came in the 70s, but they both came to America in the 90s, where they considered themselves Arab Americans and, you know, were really invested in their tight-knit Arab community. They moved to Flint because they saw that there was a community that they could relate to, and that is how they identified. So today, according to the US Census, Arab Americans are considered white. But according to Arab Americans, we are not white. And funny thing is this also includes Afro-Arabs. So like Rasha was talking, she was saying that she could even be considered white technically under the census if she were to identify as Arab. I don't know, did you want to share your story?
So I didn't even know that I could or would be considered white until I was about 18 years old. I got pulled over and I was reviewing the ticket, and under race it said I was white. And so I thought there was like an elaborate process or like somewhere that I was categorized as white, but it turns out that it's just through later experiences, I found out that the cops just look at you and they basically decide your identity and then they check it in a box.
So it's kind of problematic that we're all lumped into this group that says we're white. I mean, the ACS kind of does that, but it doesn't get the numbers that we need, the accuracy that we need. There's no way for us to track discrimination or hate crimes, and there's no way for us to properly give these vulnerable communities the resources they need. I mean, so far, we can say that there's approximately 3.7 million Arab Americans in the US from 22 different countries, but the population could be greater. A lot of Arab American nonprofits around the country are kind of taking on the responsibility of counting and finding these communities and finding out what their needs are, but we don't have the access that we need to these communities. So why are we considered white? Well, I want to take it back to David's point about the Naturalization Act of 1790, which restricted citizenship to any alien being a free white person. So basically, any immigrant that came in to the country at the time had to prove that they were white to be granted access. So Arab Americans, when they first came, they really had to prove their whiteness, to prove that they belonged in this country. So Arab Americans really embraced the term white. Now Miss America is an Arab. Maybe the world really is coming to an end. Someone else said, how the fuck does a foreigner win Miss America? She's Arab, hashtag idiots. And then when the movie American Sniper came out, there were a lot of tweets. You can look at all these tweets on Twitter. These are the ones that I picked out. Someone tweeted, not gonna lie, teared up at the end of American Sniper. Great fucking movie, and now I really want to kill some fucking ragheads. American Sniper makes me want to shoot some fucking Arabs. Nice to see a movie where the Arabs are portrayed for who they really are. Vermin scum, intent on destroying us. American Sniper made me appreciate soldiers 100 times more and hate Muslims 1,000,000 times more. Does anyone remember the election between Obama and McCain? Yes? So, yes, I'm sure we all do. So, while McCain was on his campaign trail, one of his supporters at a rally asked him, well, isn't Obama an Arab? Why would we even consider voting for someone that's an Arab? And McCain responded with, no, he's a decent family man. That was his response. What is
It implies that Arabs aren't decent people or family.
Yeah, pretty much. And when you have someone in power, in a position, someone who's running to lead the people in this country that represents us, saying something like that, that makes a huge impression. Now, McCain was just the start of it. We have someone now who is doing a great, better job at representing us, right? Not really. But yeah, and the other thing I wanted to bring up was the Chapel Hill shooting. Did anyone hear about this? Raise of hands. Just a couple people. Yeah, usually when I talk to people about this, not many people hear about it. But if you have, that's good. And the male in the middle, they were newlyweds, married for a month, living in their new apartment. And Dia lived there initially, had no problems. But once his wife Razan moved in, they started noticing, they were getting harassed by a neighbor and everything. And so one night, Razan, Yusuf's sister, visited them for the evening, and their neighbor, unfortunately, decided to come in to their home, to their safe space, to their house where we all, seek refuge in, and shot them all execution style for no reason other than hate. And what really, really needs to be talked about in this situation is that the media did not recognize this as a hate crime. They said it was over a parking dispute. That's not okay. And
These three Sudanese males, Mohammed, Taha, Adam, and Muhannad, was not met with the sympathy in the Muslim and Arab community as it was with our three heroes, Dia, Yusuf, and Razan. So instead of being mourned, these three males were demonized, tied to violent gang crime, and they were lit, claims which were later refuted. And then through outrage in the Black Muslim community for lack of recognition, recognition of these 3 deaths, the hashtag #R3Boys was created. So sometimes Black Arabs don't get as much recognition as white Arabs or like lighter-skinned Arabs.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of anti-Blackness in Arab community as well. I mean, white supremacy exists everywhere in every part of the world. So that's just something that we all want you to consider and maybe look into. So taking it back to my family, in the year 1993, I was born. My father's full name, Shaukat Abdul Samarah, and my mother's full name is Nisreen Mahmoud Shotak. They decided to name me Linda, for a very specific reason. Arab, you could tell she's an immigrant, and I worry about her all the time. I'm recently looking for an apartment and for a new job, my first real adult job, and you know, I found an area that looks pretty decent, but it was majority white, and that concerned me because I really have to think about, what if someone sees my mom and just the sight of her pisses them off so much that we have someone like Craig Hicks come and shoot her, or God forbid. But stuff like that is something I worry about. I worry about this stuff. You know, I knew I wasn't white a long time ago. I knew I wasn't white when I was ashamed of my mother and father, when I didn't want them coming to school and just speaking in front of people I knew. I didn't want anyone to hear their accents. I was embarrassed of that. I knew I was white. I knew I wasn't white when, you know, after 9/11, as a child, I saw people giving my mom the finger, yelling at my mom and her friends while we were at the park, things like that. I specifically knew I wasn't white when we had a candidate that spewed so much hateful rhetoric targeting so many communities, vilifying the Arab and Muslim communities, and guess what? He got elected. People believed in him. If they were to identify as MENA, there would be a box for Sudan. This way, MENA separates Middle Eastern and North African, those experiences. We don't want to lump people who don't identify as Arab into a box. So far, this is the best solution that we have, and the specific origin section will give us more insight into. A family from Yemen will have different needs than a family from Lebanon. You know what I'm saying? People from different regions require different things. They have different needs. So having that would help these organizations to better serve these communities. So why is MENA recognition important? Well, it enforces the Voting Rights Act and draws congressional and state legislative district boundaries. It establishes federal affirmative action plans and evaluates claims of employment discrimination. It monitors discrimination in housing, mortgage lending, and credit, helps minority-owned businesses get federal grants and loans, allows the government and independent scholars to understand trends of health, employment, and education, and there's better tracking of hate crimes and other civil rights violations. Power and how that works, and how labeling us as white doesn't automatically give us that privilege. And we want the recognition of the harmful effects of hateful rhetoric to be recognized and identified and shut down. And we want to be acknowledged. I mean, doesn't everyone want to be acknowledged? We all want to be seen. We all want to be respected. We want our lives taken care of. We want a fair shot, just like everyone else. The pros of having a MENA box is it prevents the erasure of narrative and it supports our community's needs, which we talked about. The cons are there's programs like the CVE program, which is the Countering Violent Extremism program, and it's a program that targets vulnerable Arab American communities where, you know, people are sent to spy on these communities and kind of wrongly accuse different members of being associated with terror groups. I mean, this program alone kind of, it implies that our communities are violent, and that's not true. That's not true at all, and we're not going to take that responsibility either. So this is a photograph of my father. This is his first house that he bought in Flint, Michigan. To this shot, he's still vilified. He's still seen as a dirty, scary Arab man. His wife, he has to have talks with his wife about how she should probably take off hijab now because it's dangerous. you know, it's interesting because although we want that fair shot, we're not getting it, and this photograph represents those two emotions. So, yeah. Now I'm going to hand it off to Rachel, who's going to talk.
This is what the future looks like. Projections. The minority population is projected to be 56% by 2060.
Yay!
Versus 38% in 2014. The foreign-born population will be 19% 2060 of the total population versus the 13% that it was in 2014. Two or more races is the fastest growing population group, and the total population was 324 million in 2014 and will be 441 million in 2060. Identity and sexual orientation was removed off of the 2020 proposed census. And John Thompson, who is now the former Census Bureau Director, stated our review concluded there was no federal data needed to change the planned census in subject. We can see why this could be problematic in trying to not acknowledge whole communities. There is the possibility of eliminating the term race altogether and making it to origin, and possibly including MENA, as we had previously said. Also, they're talking about putting the census online, which would make it a lot more accessible for many people, but also could have problems, obviously.
Yeah. And that Negro label is finally gone. It's
Finally.
We're finally a little bit.
We're moving forward, supposedly.
Which then leads us into our conclusion.
So, as we've discussed, this is pretty problematic, right? As Linda and Rosh have illustrated, there are more experiences than 5 groups. You know, there's a depth to each experience. We're all so diverse, and we all are so broad in our origins and our ancestries that it's totally unrealistic to try and fit us all into these 5 small boxes, right? Reflect the people that live and exist in this country. You know, if America is the land of opportunity and it's the land of freedom and justice, then the existence of these people needs to be recognized.
So now we want to open it up for discussion and questions. Yeah.